It's just after 6 o'clock, so I'd like to bring the study session of Urbana School District 116 to order. Roll call, please.
Member Stanton? Yep. Member Jones? Member Hickson? Here. Member Baxley?
Here.
Member Langendorf here. Vice President Exum?
Here.
President Pulowski.
Here, are there any additions, corrections, or modifications to tonight's agenda? Hearing none, it is now time for citizen statements. If anybody in the room would like to make a citizen statement before the board, please fill out a goldenrod sheet in the back of the room and hand it to our recording secretary, Lori Johnson. Going once, going twice. No one is here to make a statement tonight. There is no call for an executive session after tonight's meeting, so the chair would entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I move for approval of tonight's agenda.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is now time for a public hearing. So this is a public hearing on the PE waiver that the district is hoping to submit to the Illinois State Board of Education. There was one submission last week that asked to be read into the public hearing record, so I'm going to go ahead and do that first before soliciting public comments from the room. It's from Emma Ehrenhart. I am writing to request that my daughter and my public comments from tonight's board meeting be included in the public hearing summary for the PE waiver. We showed up to the publicly advertised hearing, but it was not till the meeting was called to order that it was communicated that the hearing, this isn't the actual, this is the request, but not the actual statement from the girl that I have in front of me. Right, this is the request from the mother to read the daughter's statement into the record, but I don't have the actual daughter's statement.
Oh, I'll pull it up.
Is anybody here, actually, first of all, I need to do the formal thing. The public hearing is open. Does anybody wish to make a statement to the board with regards to the PE waiver that the district is hoping to submit to the Illinois State Board of Education? Is any?
Yeah, you should have her, I don't have her public comment.
So we
when
might
she was
not,
here.
I mean, I don't know if it was one ever submitted in writing.
It was the one she made publicly when she was here,
Yeah.
in person.
So what we can do is submit a transcript of that, or and a deep link to the video in YouTube, along with our application to the public hearing. But it was a fourth grade student who spoke very poignantly and effectively against the district's application for the waiver.
That was just the only thing that she sent us was that she wanted in the.
Okay. All right. In that case, I'm going to move on. And again, one more time, request anybody in the room wishing to make a comment on the PE waiver submission. Going once, going twice. The public hearing is closed. Next up is our student ambassador report.
Okay, you can skip this slide. But yeah. Okay, so the foods lab. This has been an issue since last school year. It started on August 16th, which was the first full day of school with all students. It was brought up to the UHS maintenance workers, and nothing was done initially. Then a follow-up email was brought the following Tuesday, the 24th, I believe. So the issue was that the foods lab was consistently it had been like flooding over, filling up with water. So it wasn't just like a few puddles, it was like deep enough that like kids' shoes were getting soaked. And this was disrupting the students' learning because there's only one foods lab in the high school. So yeah. The weather was being blamed a lot for the issue, or the AC, which neither were true or found to be true. So the weather was blamed because the maintenance workers would say that it had rained the night before or something like that, or that the AC was leaking water. But the foods labs teachers were reporting that the water was coming up from the floor. It wasn't leaking from anywhere. So yeah. This disrupted a lot of students' learning because the teachers had to make new lesson plans and they couldn't use the food lab, especially because this has been going on for so long. They would start their lessons, they would start cooking, and then by halfway through, they could no longer finish their lesson plan because students were slipping and falling due to the water when the foods lab originally hadn't started with water in the room. So, yeah. Next slide, please. So the art rooms were also disrupted. The art classrooms are right below the foods lab. And so they believe that, or the foods lab teachers believe that this is a problem within the floors because it's leaking up from the tiles, but it's also leaking down into the art classrooms. So the art classrooms right now have buckets in their classrooms which are collecting the water. And that also disrupts the art students' learning. So many students have fallen because of the flooding, and the foods teachers have started class with no water in the lab, and by halfway, it is full to your shoe length with water, and they've had to stop because students are falling, and it's no longer safe to continue. So I guess the issue is that I'm just wondering like why it took so long to get this issue sorted out, because the foods teachers were also told that this was going to be or reviewed during the summer. It would be fixed during the summer, and then the school year started and never got fixed. So yeah, and it's only gotten worse.
So I know Randy's not here, and so I asked about this. And Sitlali met with you met with Mr. Guzman about it?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me see, I'm looking at my notes. So Mr. Guzman said it has dried up and it's been taken, not Mr. Guzman, Mr. Ashman, Randy Ashman said it has dried up and it's been taken care of. It is not uncommon for univents to leak due to condensation. And there are drip pan drain lines in the food labs because of the heat from the cooking. There were repairs that were supposed to get done during the summer. And Sitlali, that is true, and that is what the maintenance folks were supposed to do this summer, and that did not happen. They have talked to the new maintenance person who was there. The previous person retired this summer, and so there is a new person there. So they have cleaned the areas. There are repairs that have been made, and
Do you know when
the art
exactly?
room is on the list for new flooring.
Do you know the day it was made?
The day it was cleaned or the day it was repaired?
It was repaired.
The
because
previous
as of
maintenance-
last week, it was still an issue.
Oh, then I guess not. He said it has been dried up and it's dried up and it's been taken care of. That was as of this morning.
Okay. Because I know, like, Wednesday last week, it had flooded again and a student had fallen.
Yes, he did
Yeah.
say that a student had fallen. The student will be okay. I asked about the student. Nothing was broken, and the student is going to be okay. And yeah, that is all I'm seeing right now, and that they are going to fix the flooring in the art room when we have our next long break.
Okay.
Okay.
Next slide. Oh, thank you.
Sorry. I think both of us are doing it. Sorry.
The last thing is the high school had their homecoming prep rally, and these are just various pictures. The students put in a lot of effort to prepare. I wish I got more pictures, but the ones on the bottom right or bottom left are the seniors floats, and they won again this year for the float building competition. The ones on the bottom right are the juniors, which were also very good. The theme was disco fever, if you could not tell. And then the one in the middle was one of the freshmen's, or no, sophomores. The freshmen did not have a float this year. Nobody came out. And then we had the senior, the people who did the float building in the top left, pose for a picture, drum majors, the cheerleaders, and then the Royal Step team. I didn't get any pictures of the choir team, but they did a Rihanna mix. It was very good. They had little umbrellas. It was very cute. So yeah. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, said Lolly. And I was gonna mention that Valentina is at a volleyball game tonight, so that's why she's not here.
Moving on to our administrative report for the evening, the McKinney Vento Services Community Partner Relations, Dr. Mitchell and Deanna Webster.
Thank you. Okay, good evening. We'll just jump right into the McKinney Vento Services and Community Partner Relations presentation. So just starting off with some basic McKinney Vento laws, because McKinney Vento homelessness is by definition a little bit different than traditional HUD definition homelessness. So homeless students have the right to attend their school of origin. And what that means is a school of origin is the school that the child attended when permanently housed, or the school in which the child was last enrolled. So wherever they were enrolled at the beginning of that particular school year that they became homeless, they still do have the right to enroll there, or they can choose to enroll in the school that is closest to them. So just to continue with the McKinney Vento laws, so homelessness under McKinney Vento can be defined as an individual lacking a fixed, regular nighttime residence, an individual with a nighttime residence that is designed for temporary stay, supervised as a shelter or other transitional housing unit, or an unsuitable location of sleeping for a human being. So this would include, like sometimes what we see is people sleeping in storage units or garages, vehicles. So then, looking at just a little bit of the historical, historical homeless data for the last 3 school years, including this one. So we look at 22-23 school year. There were 174 students reported homeless in Urbana School District 116. And then last year, 23-24 school year, there were 222 students reported homeless in Urbana School District 116. And then this year thus far, so this is between July and October of 2024. So this 24-25 school year, we've had 97 students reported homeless in Urbana School District 116 thus far, just in this 3-month span. And so some recent homeless trends. Last year this time, I reported that between July and September of 2023, there were upwards of 65 reported homeless students enrolled in Urbana School District 116. By the end of the 23-24 school year, there were 162 homeless Urbana students. Between July and September 2024, so that's the start of this school year, there have been 98 reported homeless students enrolled in Urbana School District 116. We began last school year with a 1.55% homeless student population and ended with a 2.8% homeless student population, which was a 0.5% higher rate than the state average. And the state average was 2.3% homelessness. So looking at the schools within Urbana School District, the schools with the highest amount of reported homelessness in 2024 thus far: Urbana High School, Urbana Middle School, Thomas Paine Elementary School, and Dr. Preston Williams Elementary School. So there are some support systems in place, quite a few, to support our homeless student population. So I'll go through those. Started with Mrs. Mitchell's Closet. So there is a Mrs. Mitchell's Closet location at 6 areas in Urbana, including 5 schools. So Urbana High School, Urbana Middle School, Thomas Paine Elementary School, amongst 3 other convenient locations. Due to lack of space, Dr. Preston Williams Elementary School, which is on that list, has a standing file cabinet, so they don't have an actual room, but they do have a standing file cabinet that is supplied upon request, as opposed to having their own room. But items are also delivered there upon request throughout the week. Last school year, I hosted a spring job fair for parents. This took place at Urbana Middle School in May 2024. Over 2 weekend days, so it was a Friday and a Saturday. 7 urgently hiring organizations were present to assist families, answer any questions, help with the application process, and then mental health service referrals are made upon request to local low and no cost providers as well. So homeless students residing outside of Urbana, with their school of origin being in Urbana School District 116. So if we're looking at last year, 2023-2024 school year, and this is looking at the whole school year since it is now passed, we had 41 of our homeless students living in Champaign, 2 residing in Rantoul, 1 in Sidell, Illinois, and 1 in Villa Grove, Illinois. So 45 out of the 222 homeless Urbana students were living outside of the district area. So 20.27% of our homeless population was living outside of Urbana. And then this school year, again, just looking at from July to September, we have 12 reported that are all in Champaign. So 12 out of the 97 homeless Urbana students, totaling 12.37%. Transportation is still a persistent challenge for homeless students living out of the district, as well as for some living within the city limits. And this is just due to the number of students needing the service, and that number is far outpacing the number of drivers and routes available. It's not a new issue, but it is still, again, a persistent issue. This causes a delay in getting students to school on time. But Urbana School District 116 is contracted with AeroCab taxi service to provide transportation to our homeless students. So myself and Mr. Trayshawn Smith, who is the point person at AeroCab, we continue to communicate frequently via email about the needs of new students needing transportation to and from school, their pickup, drop-off locations, etc. And then other options offered to homeless students, families include MTD bus tokens. So sometimes we will give bus tokens to our older students who can take the bus to school. Sometimes we suggest carpooling. So if we're not able to get them in AeroCab, or if they're gonna be extremely late getting to school by AeroCab, then we suggest carpooling with a trusted family in the neighborhood, or doing group walking, setting it up to where our younger students are walking with some older students to school if they're within the 1.5 mile of that building. So common causes of homelessness, lack of affordable housing is still a prevalent issue in this area. For many of our homeless families, eviction due to non-payment of rent. And I always explain the 10-year credit history rule. So if you get an eviction, it stays on your credit report for up to 10 years, and that becomes really difficult when you're looking to move into a new apartment or housing unit. Landlords selling their property, so that's become kind of a newer issue, but I've heard from quite a few families that their landlords are selling the property off, and so that's one of the reasons why they're not able to remain in the units that they've been in. And then relocation to the Champaign-Urbana area and just waiting on housing vouchers to renew is another issue for the lack of housing, or that lag in getting them into new housing. So district's resources to meet student and family basic needs. So housing-wise, referrals to following shelters and providers. Cunningham Township, that's our main point of contact. So we put in referrals for the emergency assistance program or their rental assistance program. As soon as we know that a family has become homeless and a McKinney-Vento form has been filled out, we attach it to that form and they get referred there first. And then we also contact Regional Planning Commission, Housing Authority of Champaign County, and Salvation Army of Champaign County. In terms of food, we have the Tiger Market, which is located at Urbana High School. It mostly serves high school students, but they will allow for other families to come in if needed. And then we also have a list of 39 soup kitchens and little free food pantries in Champaign County, and we provide that list to families, but there are times where if the family does not have transportation, then we will pick up and drop off. Clothes, shoes, school supplies, and personal items. Again, Mrs. Mitchell's Closet. There are 6 locations now in Urbana. Wilcox Red Shoe Funds. These are accessible to school social workers. And then referrals to the 12 discount stores and giveaway hubs in Champaign-Urbana as well. Other resource information often gets provided to families in the Urbana Family Resource Guide. This was a guide that was created a couple years ago, and we give it out at pretty much any of the family engagement events that we have. It travels with me pretty much anywhere as well, and it just has a lot of different local resources from childcare to transportation, housing, food, securing basic needs, educational assistance, so on and so forth. So, all right, so Urbana School District 116 in Cunningham Township. Just to dive into that a little bit more, because I talked about this last year, but what that relationship looks like. So Cunningham Township Supervisor's Office has a homeless liaison, and their homeless liaison for this year is Brittany Tootin. She is phenomenal and very responsive. And so the steps for getting support for our families, the student's family, once they indicate homelessness, then the McKinney-Vento Common Form gets completed, and that's completed with a school social worker, liaison, an SEA, a student education advocate. And then the Urbana School District 116 referral to Cunningham Township Google form then gets completed. And again, that McKinney-Vento Common Form gets attached to that form and submitted. The Google form, once it's submitted, a caseworker is assigned to that family, and then qualifying families receive referrals for emergency sheltering or rental assistance. So there are times where I'll make a follow-up email or phone call just to check on a family, but I often will tell families, give it at least 48 hours because it takes some time, and they have quite a long list of families right now that they're trying to tend to, so they will get back to you, but it just may take a few days. But again, often Brittany contacts me and just gives a follow-up on what is still needed in terms of information, or if the family has not showed up for their appointment, or if she's been trying to contact a family, hasn't been able to get a hold of them, or if there's great news where she's been able to get them into one of those programs. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, board. And any comments or questions? Go ahead, Jennifer.
I was wondering, how do kids, families find out about the services? Do teachers notice a difference in how the kids are behaving, or what's the initial way to offer the services?
Sure. So one thing you mentioned is very true. Sometimes, teachers, they, will notice something and then maybe reach out to the family to see, if there's ways that they can support. Administrators, social workers also notice sometimes, a student who's coming in, often they miss breakfast, they're hungry, or that they're wearing the same clothes for multiple days at a time. So that is one way an adult catches it at the school. But also, again, the family engagement events, community events as well. We normally take information out to the public or out to the community to share with them so that families are aware. They get flyers, QR codes. We're emailing a lot too. There's a lot of families that we email back and forth and contact often. So it's just kind of a mixture of ways that families find out about the services.
Hi.
Thank you so much for all the job you're doing. I know homelessness in the community is a chronic problem that we have, regardless of new immigrants or local population. You mentioned that there is kids that are not part of the school district, that they are outside in Urbana. Are they assisting to our school in Urbana?
And I'm sorry.
They are part of, they go to a school here in Urbana. The ones that she's talking about are students that originated, they attended school here in Urbana School District when they had a home. And then when their families lost their home for different reasons, they've moved to Urbana, to Champaign, or some to Rantoul. Last year we had Villa Grove and Sidell. But since we're their school of origin, they still go to our schools, and that's when we either bus them or a cab, or we find other ways for them to get here. But they are still our students.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then is the intention to work with Cunningham Township to rehouse them here in Urbana?
Yes, or wherever we can find. We try to stay in Urbana so that the children we don't remove them from the school district if they're comfortable. We try to keep everything as consistent as possible for the children. But we first try Urbana, but sometimes we do have to do Champaign. But Urbana is the first point of contact.
Thank you.
You're
So last year I helped a couple of my clients. I was working for an organization who is helping with immigrants. And I think we fill out this form, and the program offers 7 days. I want to say 7 days of hotel for this family is also something that is the program is doing. That day was like something emergency. I'm not so sure it was one-time thing or it's on a process.
Yes, it was a one-time thing. Last year, our Regional Office of Education had additional funds for hotels. Unfortunately, this year, they do not have those funds. So Dr. Mitchell and I were in a meeting yesterday with several people in the district and the community, our community, and in Champaign School District Unit 4 to try to figure out how we can come up with emergency hotel stays, especially when the temperatures are frigid and people can't stay in cars or be outside. So as of right now, we do not have funding, and we cannot use our Title I set-aside funds for hotel stays. So we are working with CUSF School Foundation, United Way, and a couple other organizations to figure out how we can come up with emergency funding. But like you said, 7 days is the max because it is quite expensive to have families in hotels, and there are also some hotels that no longer accept homeless families due to unfortunate incidents of lack of supervision for children and property damage. So we're working really hard to try to find spaces for them to be rehomed. But like Dr. Mitchell mentioned, there are different reasons with their credit history and prior evictions and things that make it difficult, but we are trying to find apartments in different places so that people can have full housing and not just temporary.
Excuse me, I keep have a lot of questions. How do you do with the language barriers, especially with the new arrivals?
Miss Lucia Maldonado works with the new arrivals. Mitzi Maldonado works with new arrivals. Carla Altamarino at Urbana Middle School works with new arrivals, and depending on the language. And then also Mr. Jean Fleur at Yankee Ridge works with our French family. So we have a variety of people who work with our new arrivals in different languages. Not all languages, but we work really hard to make sure that we can communicate with the families in their home language.
All right, thank you. And then last, do you guys have any connection with the homeless shelters, like family shelters, or chorus connection when they have a family with kids?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Dr. Mitchell does lots of works with those places.
All right,
Yes.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
One thing I'd like to know is the qualifications. You said that Cunningham Township, you fill out the paperwork so that they could get a caseworker if they qualify. What are the qualifications in order to work with Cunningham?
So it's income based for one, and I'm gonna kind of roughly put this out there because I don't want to overtalk their what they have, but I know that it's income based. I don't know exactly what that means or like what the range is, but it is income based. It's also due to the number of people in the household. That's a qualifying factor. What's another one? So it's that, and then true homelessness is another one. So by definition, are they actually without, like, are they living on a park bench? Are they in a car? Are they, in a, again, storage unit or garage, as some of our families unfortunately have been? That moves them to the top of the priority list versus someone who is doubled up, living with auntie or living with, whomever, and they still do technically have a roof over their head and they have walls, so that kind of moves them further down the priority list.
And one of the reasons that Cunningham Township has the income base is to make sure that once they place them in a space, that they're able to maintain it on their own. So they get them started, but they have to make sure that they're able to sustain the cost after they help place them there.
I know, that's kind of, it's difficult then if you don't have the money and you are truly homeless. You know, what services are then available? You said they're about 48 hours until they typically respond. What
So-
happens to these families during those 48 hours?
And often they do respond, you know, within the 48 hours. So like a lot of the people will get calls that afternoon or that next day. But I just always tell them, give them 48 hours to create a cushion so that they're not, you know, calling them back to back, or so that they're not panicking thinking, well, they've forgotten about me.
Right.
They haven't forgotten about you, but they just have a long list of other people that came in before you. But what happens in the interim while they're waiting, depending on where they're at, if they're at a hotel, you know, they stay in the hotel. There have been times where I've called the managers and, you know, pleaded with them to allow them to stay because it's cold outside, and those children have to be housed somewhere. If they're staying with a relative, I've showed up and talked with the relatives and pleaded with them as well. You know, just please let them stay. I know, you know, XYZ happened, but, you know, for the sake of these children, let's, you know, try to hash this out. You know, the adults working things out just so the kids can stay until we can figure something out tomorrow or the day after.
Right, so if you found out, like through the teacher or parent, that there was no place, absolutely no place for a family to go and they were going to be on the street, what are the steps that you take then?
So I've typically will contact, well, not anymore, but Regional Office of Education 9.
Yeah.
Staff have been great in the past when they had the ARP funding. So they were, you know, other people that we could call after hours. You know, it's 7 p.m., it's 11 p.m., and I'm calling and saying, hey, you know, I really hate to call you this late, but a family just called me this late, and this is where they're at. They're needing a place to stay, or someone just kicked them out in the cold. You know, can we get them in a hotel tonight? And then they run down the requirements for them being able to stay there, and then I'm able to go and get them checked in and that sort of thing. That's how
But
it
you don't
was
have it.
last school
Yes.
year.
So what are we going to do this year?
This year, we talked about shelters yesterday for 2 hours when we were in that meeting. So we talked a lot about shelters locally. Now, one thing that we talked about that is unfortunate is there are openings for shelters in Peoria. And we know that that's not ideal because, again, that displaces children from education. But the sad part of the reality is there just aren't a lot of openings in shelters that take children, because, of course, you have to have different safety precautions in place for children. But right now, they have some openings in Peoria. Didn't they say openings in Rantoul?
Rantoul, Mattoon as well.
And Danville?
Danville, yeah.
So that's our next point of contact, our shelters. But we are working really hard on trying to find funding to have hotels in spaces so that we can put them somewhere. But as of right now, to be perfectly honest, we don't have it.
Okay, I've been at the pantry a lot last year, and I was distributing food at least twice a month, so I know that there are unaccompanied minors that are constantly coming in. Do you provide services for them, and how can they access your services?
Absolutely. So the services that I mentioned before are for any student who needs things, and not just homeless students either. But, you know, we've had unaccompanied minors that have come in to get clothing from Mrs. Mitchell's Closet. We've had unaccompanied minors that I've helped, you know, talking through the process of getting help with utility assistance and bus tokens. So really any of the services that I mentioned are for any student who needs them.
Excuse me, there's also a closet, I'm sorry, piece of cake. There's also a closet next to Mrs. Mitchell's Closet that they access as well.
Yeah, at Urbana High
Yes.
School? Correct.
Can I ask one question? You mentioned that you are sending people who needs to go to the shelter to Peoria and Mattoon. Do you provide the transportation over there?
We haven't had to do that yet. Just yesterday, when we just started discussing this yesterday in the community meeting we had. So that's an option, but we did talk about having to find out ways to fund to get them transported yet. So we don't have all the details worked out. Literally, we just had this meeting yesterday. So we were just problem solving of potential ideas of what we would do, because we want to be prepared when the temperatures drop. So we'll have to figure out ways to transport them there, but unfortunately, at this time, we don't have all the answers. We are collaborating with our community partners to figure out, but we will have to find out ways to get them to those places, so again, that they're not on the street. But at this time, we don't know how that's gonna work yet. We have to figure out how we can use some of our title funds within the guidelines. Like I said before, we can't use them for hotel stays, but we'll look in to see how we can possibly use them for transportation to safely get them there, and then hopefully back when we have openings, because again, we don't wanna displace children, because that'll be a disruption in their education if we have to send them away. So that's our worst-case scenario. We don't want to have to do it, but we also don't want families on the street when it's freezing outside.
So if that ever happens, sending them to Peoria, the plan is to come back to Urbana.
Absolutely.
And
We'll try-
what happens once they are in Peoria?
Once they're in Peoria, they will go to the shelter there, and they'd have to work with the people there in Peoria to get the children enrolled in school. And if with McKinney-Vento status, they have to be enrolled in school automatically. That's a federal law. So they would be enrolled in school right away. Again, it wouldn't be here, but the children would be enrolled in school, and the shelters there would work with them to ensure that the children are enrolled in school, which is our first priority, after, of course, making sure that the families are safely housed.
And then what happens once they are in school and they are living in the home and the shelter, and you guys are preparing things to return them? Or
We'd have to figure that out, to be perfectly
Okay.
honest, because again, unless, we'd work with them with Cunningham Township, unless they have housing here, we wouldn't want them to come back until they have housing, and that's been secured. So again, that's the worst-case scenario. We don't have all the details worked out because it's new. We have not done this before. We just problem-solved this yesterday with our community partners, so that's our worst-case scenario, because again, we do not want children to be moved that far away from their school, from their friends, from their community, and the families either, but we're focusing on the children and their education, of course. But that's the worst-case scenario, so we do not have all the details yet because it's still new. We're still in the working process.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Questions?
What's your biggest need, like, for the closet? Like, what do you see people, obviously, they need the physical space to stay. That's the highest need. But as far as when they're coming to you and they're like, my kids really need this, or a kid is coming to you and saying, this is what I'm lacking, like, what are they asking for often that maybe you don't have as much of?
Thank you for that. Right now, little boys' pants, anywhere from size 5T to 810 youth. That's been a big request from Thomas Paine and Yankee Ridge. And another thing would be hygiene products across the board. So toothbrushes, and what I tell people too is even those little items that you often overlook, or like, you know, the travel
toiletry?
size,
Uh-huh.
yeah, those are good because for our families that are staying, you know,
Right,
or
'cause they're
moving
on the
mobile,
go.
it's a lot easier for them to take small items, little toothpaste, than, you know, the big tubes. So toothpaste, toothbrushes, hair products, and then feminine items, deodorant is another one, especially like middle school and high school after PE. That's one that comes up a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great question. Anybody else?
Do you receive donations?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Where the people can drop?
Where do they come from?
Where they can drop?
Oh, they can be dropped off at Urbana Middle School anywhere between 8 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. We often get packages shipped or mailed to the middle school, and then anytime after 3:30 p.m. they can be taken to Urbana Neighborhood Connection Center.
Thank you.
Have
Or
you ever
s-
tried
or
an
central
Amazon
office.
wish list?
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Do you have an Amazon wish list? Or have
Yes,
you tried one?
yes, we have a
Okay.
miss. Yes,
Can
we
you send that to the board?
absolutely.
Anyone else? All right, thank you thank you both for a great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our study topic tonight is on curriculum and student learning. Jesse Bradford is going to give us an update on the new language arts curriculum.
I'm back. Hopefully something more positive this time and less controversial. But I'm here tonight to give you an update, a presentation about our new curriculum for ELA that is new to our elementary and our secondary students and our teachers. So I'm excited to present this. We've purchased some really engaging and rigorous curriculum for our students. So I'm excited to share that with you this evening. So I will start out with oh, sorry. Maybe. Okay, so I'll start talking about the new curriculum that we have at the elementary building, and that is K through 5. So we have it's through Amplify, but we have CKLA, which is our for our English students, and then we have Caminos, which is for our Spanish students, and that's used at Yankee Ridge. So, so the Amplify, the CKL, and the Caminos, kindergarten, first and second grade, they have skills and knowledge, and grades 3 through 5 just have the knowledge. And I will, what do I mean by skills and knowledge? So knowledge is like the comprehension that students are learning, and the vocabulary and the writing. In grades 3 through 5, it also encompasses morphology and listening and speaking. And I don't know if I can click, can somebody click on the knowledge progression by year? I don't know if it'll, since it's not through my computer, I don't know if it'll show up. Yay, it does. So this is a great graphic because it shows you the different knowledge topics that are presented to our students in K through 5. And so you can see how it progresses. So if we look at like literature and the arts, you can see how when they talk about like nursery rhymes and fables, you can see how it progresses in first grade and then first grade to second grade. So they do a lot of building background knowledge and rely on a lot of students' prior knowledge, which is a great way to expose our students to the curriculum and get them interested. And then it also incorporates science and social studies across K through 5. So, and like I said, you can see how it builds on each other. So that is a great graphic that just shows you what's taught in each unit across each grade level. The second part is skills, and that is kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. And so that is really like teaching the students how to read. And so it has print concepts, phonological awareness, and phonics and word recognition. So you can see how in each grade, how the skills build upon each other. It's explicit, it's systematic, it's taught in order. And so you can see just what's taught at each grade level. And so there's a lot of like, we have decodables with those as well for our skills. So whatever the focus is for the phonics skills, they apply that with the decodables. There's also spelling. We call them tricky words in CKLA. You might know them as sight words or high frequency words. And so those are also incorporated into the units. All right, next. Also with this Amplify, it has daily writing. There's a lot of writing embedded into this, which is great because our students need practice with writing. And so writing is embedded just across knowledge and skills. And it covers both like handwriting and spelling, but also like the composition writing. It also incorporates like grammar and teaches them how to write sentences. And so there is just a lot of writing embedded into the reading program. They're writing all the time, which is good because writing's a hard skill. So we strengthen it by doing it every day. So lots of writing in CKLA. This is such a great purchase that our district decided to purchase, the M class. So it is it's an assessment, it's a universal screener that we give to all of our kindergarten through 5th grade students. We give it in the fall, and so we gave it in like August, end of August, beginning of September. And we also use it as our dyslexia screener. And it's based on foundational skills that students need to become confident readers. So this shows you what, well, the next slide does. I thought I switched it. But what's great about our M class is when we give the assessment, you get data back right away on individual students and your students as a whole as a class of what your class looks like. And then it groups students into like small groups that you can give intervention and additional instruction to. And it gives you resources to teach it. That's what's amazing is that M class gives us our teachers the lesson plans based off of the skill deficits that the students need. It's also linked to Boost, and I'll talk about Boost in just a minute. It's a student app that is linked to our M-Class data, so it's individualized for students, and they play games, and they take quizzes, and they can earn lots of rewards and kind of go up to next levels and earn things. So our M-Class is connected to Boost, so it's individualized. It targets individual reading skills for our students. And then it also gives suggestions on what teachers can use through CKLA. Like if they have a second grader who still needs CVC words, it tells them like in first grade, this is the lesson that it's taught in. And so it also gives those suggestions as well. So we get a lot of great information from our M-Class data. And I'm really excited to see when we test again in the winter how much our scores improve, because it's a great support for our students and our teachers. And so this is what's measured, just to give you an idea. In kindergarten, first grade, we assess the letter naming fluency, also the phonemic segmentation fluency, and then K1, K through 3 is the nonsense word fluency and the word reading fluency. And then first through 5th grade is the oral reading fluency. And then we also just give a basic comprehension assessment 2nd through 5th grade. So it's a lot of assessments, but it gives us really good data so we could target skills with our students. And most of these are given individually except for the comprehension. So it does take a lot of time. We do a lot of swarming into classrooms so we can get all of our students tested in a timely manner. And then for the dual language program, it's called Lectura, and it has the Spanish component in it. And so it also teaches students in their English and Spanish literacy skills. And then the dual language report, you can see a side-by-side view of the students' assessment results, and that gives them instructional guidance based on the data. So we also have that for our Spanish students. And this is what I was talking about was the Boost. It's just a digital learning program that the students can get on, and it's individual skills that provides remediation and advancement in different skill domains. It's recommended to see really good growth that students spend 30 minutes per week on it. So, and it's also in Spanish as well. Yeah, and it said, if you can see here, the Boost Lectura supports Spanish-speaking emergent bilinguals learning to read in their native language. So when used together, the two programs drive literacy growth in English and Spanish and provides teachers with side-by-side reporting on skills progression in both languages. So it also gives teachers data to see like if each student is on an individual learning path, and if they're stuck, you can see where they're stuck, and then teachers can print off lessons for where they're stuck at and complete like small groups, or if tutors want to come in or volunteers, like that's a great way too for them to support our students. So it gives us a lot of really good information, and our students really enjoy it. So another great addition. Yeah. We can give reports to the parents. If students they have to have their login name and password. They can do it at home. They just have to have access to their login name and password. And I think that if I remember, teachers can print off tickets to send home.
And that I'm assuming that the program works in Chromebooks.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. On the Chromebooks, and they access that through Clever. Yeah. And so, just some professional development that we have given to our teachers is we did a lot of summer training. Actually, I think it started back in April and May. They started training teachers back in April, May. We did a lot of summer training it was called CKLA and Caminos Getting Started training. We did M-Class assessment training. We also trained our administrators on the implementation. And then we're continuing to support the professional development to our teachers during our staff development days. Some of the PD topics that we've covered is like how to implement it, the M-Class and Lectura assessments, and then how to look at the data, and then what to do with that data. So what instruction and intervention to give. We've also talked about pacing, student engagement, how do we support all learners with this curriculum, and then writing. And then we also have new positions to support this curriculum, which is a great addition for the school year. So we have a CKLA coach, Becca Pate, who's amazing, and she is here all 4 days a week. And so we've utilized her in a lot of ways, but she's in buildings every day, modeling to teachers, planning with teachers, giving feedback to teachers, meeting with them in their PLCs. And so she is a great addition to have in our buildings working with teachers. And then Yankee Ridge has a Caminos coach, and their Caminos coach is here 1 day a week. And they also work with the teachers in the same capacity of implementing the curriculum. And then new this year is our curriculum implementation teachers. And so their focus this year is really supporting teachers with this new curriculum. So they do that through co-teaching, meeting with teachers, giving them suggestions, giving them PD, working with them in their PLCs. So that's a new addition. So each building has one CIT teacher. And then we have our Tier 1, they're called our Tier 1 intensive teachers. I think that is new this year as well. And so our Tier 1 teachers are co-teaching all day long in the building. So they're helping support that curriculum, which is amazing to have 2 teachers in a classroom delivering the instruction and supporting our students. And then we have a substitute trainer / mentor who works with our long-term subs and giving them support in the curriculum as well. So a lot of great support for our teachers and our students in implementation of the curriculum. So that's elementary. Does anybody have any questions about the elementary curriculum? Yeah.
I'm wondering, for the students who come in already with the skills that are taught K-1, 2,
Mm-hmm.
do they relearn them with all the other kids? It seems as if
Yeah.
teachers say, so they don't.
For the whole group part, right? Yeah, they strengthen their skills, but then there is differentiation. So like in the teacher guides, it tells you how to support different learners. So how do you support your multilingual learners? How do you support your special education students? And then how do you provide enrichment for the students who already have the skill? So it gives the teachers ideas and suggestions on how to support all of those students. So, and that differentiation really comes in more towards like the activities and the independent work, and then also the boost, because it's individualized, so.
And then for, I can't remember what it was called, it wasn't the skills, it was the background knowledge.
The knowledge, yeah.
Knowledge.
Uh-huh.
So for that,
Mhm.
for the English language learners, are the English language learners using this right along with everybody else?
Absolutely.
Because actually, how long is spent on one of those units of study?
Yeah, so it just depends on the different units. Sometimes it takes 9 lessons for a unit. It just depends. But it does, so K through 2 knowledge is 60 minutes a day. And then 3rd grade is 90 minutes. And then 4th and 5th grade, third grade is 120 minutes a day. And then 4th and 5th grade is 90 minutes a day for the knowledge. So pretty extensive amount of time, especially with the upper grade levels, so you just have more like rigorous and deeper content to teach, so.
Okay, but it could, so you said 9 days worth, so it would be like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it just really depends on the grade level in the unit, but usually it's at least like 12 lessons in a unit that encompasses in a unit, and then we have something called pausing point days that are embedded. Pausing point days. So they're just extra resources. So if a teacher teaches Unit 2, Lesson 2, and their students really struggled with the concept, then they can go back the next day and use a pausing point day, which is a specific lesson to help support the lesson that you just gave. Or you can embed it at the end when you take your assessment, and then you see what your strengths are, but where your areas of growth are, and you can go back and reteach those areas. So those are called pausing point days.
Okay, and so then when they do the assessment at the end of the unit,
Mm-hmm.
the assessment is at the end of each unit,
Yes.
then are, and these are science and social studies units.
Well, they're based off a standard. So a lot of it is like main idea for the knowledge, like main idea. It could be context clues. So most of the time they read a passage, and then some of the questions are aligned to like a standard author's purpose. What kind of text is this? And then they have vocabulary, and then they have the grammar, the grammar in it. So there's like 3 parts.
Okay, so the emphasis is still on English language arts,
Yes.
not on the.
It's just the content that they read that might be a science topic. Right.
So then are the topics aligned with the science or social studies curriculum?
That's what we're working on. So that's a big task, right, to do for K through 5. So I know last year, towards like second semester in the summer, they had a committee that started working on that alignment. We're not finished with it yet, but it's a work in progress of how the science, because if I can go back to my presentation, it'll show you how it's linked. So if you click on the knowledge progression by year, it'll show you what in the topics and in the units, which ones are science and which ones are social studies, and then which ones are like language arts.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, because we have the state has certain standards.
Yep. Yep.
And then we follow that.
Yep.
And so I'm wondering, does this follow the state and district?
For the most part, and I can share that sheet that we have for you, the alignment for K through 5 with the, especially the NGSS, the science and the social studies, and where it's at and how it relates. Now, there are some science and social studies that is not embedded in the CKLA that the teachers have to use, like mystery science or whatever else that the resources they can use to kind of supplement. And that's during their science and social studies time. And that's what they usually cover. They cover the science and social studies topics that aren't covered in CKLA.
Okay. And so, but we're not actually assessing them on what they learned in science.
Not during science and social studies time. Yes.
But not on the content. That
Correct.
was being taught in.
Correct.
And then we used to do DIBELS testing.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. Yep.
And it's the same.
Pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah, and it used to be, there was the combination of how fast a student can read a passage
Mhm.
with how few or how many mistakes
Yep.
they made during that.
Yep. In 1 minute. Mhm.
And I didn't really feel like it was appropriate for ELL students, but it may be appropriate if you're using it Spanish for Spanish speakers.
Right.
Because we would have little Korean kids who could decode and read fast,
Right.
and not understand a word.
Mhm.
And they'd get a higher score
Right.
than someone who read more slowly with some sort of feeling, you knew what
Right.
what they meant. They get a lower score because
Right.
they didn't read as fast.
Yeah.
And we don't have any alternatives for ELL students then.
No. Well, I mean, I can't really answer that question. I know that like there's the Spanish version, but like if there's a student whose English is not their native language, I'm not really for sure if they take that or not. That would be a good question for like Miss Ricconi. Yeah, but there might be other assessments that they give through the MLL program that are better than given the ORF.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, Joe and Lupe are coming to the October 29th, and they're doing their
Yeah.
MLL presentation. And so that would be a good question for them when they come.
And I think we've identified actually like what assessments we give to our MLL students. So depending on like their access scores too. So, Yeah.
And then the 30-minute enrichment that's on the schedule that we got with
Yeah.
the PE waiver thing, is that what this boost is?
It just depends. It's both.
Or is the boost part of the 90 minutes of CKLA?
No, it's used during that enrichment intervention time.
Okay, and so that's all computer-based?
Yes. And so as teachers, during that enrichment intervention time, teachers are pulling small groups based off of what the groups that they gave them and a specific skill to follow. So teachers are pulling like a small group, and then the other students could be working on Boost.
Okay, so it's not all computer-based.
Right, so
Right.
some teachers are doing.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, we
teachers
don't want
are-
to just stick us,
Everybody would get the teacher once every so often.
depending on their needs, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So even the kids who need the boost
Mm-hmm.
would get the teacher every so often?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, not just computer, okay.
Can I ask something? I'm sorry. Is your presentation about to finish or you have to keep going?
I have secondary, which
have
won't take
secondary.
very long. Yeah.
Okay, maybe we can let her keep going so we don't cut her thoughts.
Before we move on, though, does anybody else have questions about the secondary level or the primary elementary schools?
Did you
I'm
say
sorry, I'm
in class is
tired.
Mm-hmm.
given twice a year or once a year?
3 times.
Oh,
So it's
3
be given
times,
in the
okay.
fall, in the winter, and then in the spring.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I did have one quick question as well. I mean, this is a huge change for the elementary schools. The other big change
Yes.
that's at the elementary schools this year is push in instruction with the second classroom teacher. How do those two things pair? How does the new interventionist kind of format support the curriculum?
So they're teaching right alongside, they co-plan with, so if I was a tier 1 teacher and I'm co-teaching with a first grade teacher, so I'm co-planning with them, and there's different models they can use for co-teaching. There's 5 different models. So I could do like parallel teaching one day, and then the next day it could be like small groups. So it just depends on the co-teachers and like what you're teaching and how you're presenting that curriculum to your students. So there's different models that teachers can use to implement the curriculum for co-teaching. And they've had training on that. So we use Susan Hintz. She's come in, she's done training with our teachers in the summer. She was here a couple weeks ago doing observations of co-teachers and then debriefing with them. And then she is coming on October 8th and 9th for the middle school and high school. And then she's back again for 3 days after our fall break to go back into the buildings and give feedback for our co-teaching.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else real quick?
Can I ask one more?
Sure.
I had heard, and could be rumor, but I had heard that a parent told me that some of the Spanish dual language teachers at Yankee Ridge don't want to use the curriculum and have been given permission not to use it this year. And I was wondering
That's not
if
true.
that's not
No, K1 and 2. So if you're French dual language, they use the CKLA curriculum. If you are Spanish, they follow the biliteracy model, which is 50% of the ELA curriculum is in their native language, and then 50% is in English. So they use Caminos. And then they use for like the writing, the reading. But they use English for like just the basic foundational skills, like the letter sounds, the high frequency words. So they follow the biliteracy model for K through 2, and then 3 through 5, they use it's 50% too, like 50% in their native language, 50% in English, and so they use Caminos and CKLA. But I also know that they created their own. Like lessons to support the biliteracy because there's just not enough time to do the Spanish, the Caminos, and the CKLA. So they're kind of like taking bits and pieces and creating their own.
Yeah, and Lupe's planning to come and present.
Yeah,
that
she
when
can
they-
talk more in depth about that.
Yeah, Lupe Ricconi's gonna talk more in depth about that when she comes and presents at the next meeting.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. I think we can move ahead now.
Yeah. Okay. So for our secondary, so we have Into Literature, which is our reading and writing curriculum, and that's implemented in grades 6 through 9. We also have Writable, which is an online writing program for our students, which is implemented 6 through 12. And then we have Read 180, which is a Tier 2 intervention for reading that's implemented in grades 6 through 10. And so into literature, it included in each unit, they have a unit opener, which gives like building background, prior knowledge, and there's a lot of different activities that teachers can choose from for their unit opener. And then it moves into analyze and apply, collaborate and compare, and then they have some extra readers choices, and then there's like lots of end of unit tasks that they can complete. I don't know if the ed platform will open up since I'm not using my computer. I wanted to show you like what a unit looked like. It's really amazing. It includes a lot of reading, writing, vocabulary, grammar, and the stories are really interesting. The students love the stories that they're being asked to read. So far it's going really well. The students like it, the teachers like it. There are a lot of options for our teachers. Can you go to login to ed? I don't know if it'll link. Yeah, it probably won't. Like down here, like it says access your HMH programs. Yeah. If you went the other way, it probably had my password already in it. So, so you probably don't have access. Try you see where it says access your HMH programs, and underneath it, it says log into ed. Will you just click on that one? Yeah, but it shows you like the different stories that the students are doing, that they have options to, and the activities. It's really engaging, and so it's going very, very well, and it's consistent for each unit. They always start with they always go in order with the unit opener, and then the analyze. Students have to read a story and analyze and apply the skills, and then they compare two different texts. So they collaborate together and compare both two texts. And then reader's choice, they have different options. The students can choose like a short story, a poem, it could be a novel, but that's goes with the theme of the unit. And then the end of the unit task has, of course, the assessment, but it also has really cool different projects that students can choose to complete that they've really enjoyed doing. I wish I could show you the ed platform, because it's seeing the stories that they read it's the students are really connecting to it. They really love the stories. So it's been a success so far. Writable, it's online, and there's different things you can do with Writable. We haven't really dug into Writable yet. That's coming up probably here in November, December, because we wanted to make sure that into literature, that the teachers and students were really comfortable with it. So Writable is going to come next. So it's an online platform that like teachers can assign writing assignments to them and then give them immediate feedback, and they can track their writing progression. And there's just different writing activities. There could be quick writes, summaries. There could be the essays. So there's different assignments that you can use on Writable, but we just haven't dug into that yet, because into literature is a lot. And then my favorite is the Read 180. I was at Urbana Middle School today working with teachers and the Read 180 coach. I am so excited to get this started. It is amazing. So it's linked. So our students are identified to get placed into Read 180 based off of their MAP scores. And so once those students are identified, they either go into the code, which is our foundational skills, or they go into comprehension based off of their needs. So it's individualized, but students engage in rotation. So like we just did the schedule today. So Monday and Thursday, the students meet with the teacher for small group instruction based off of their needs. And then while the teacher's meeting with a small group, the students are completing either independent reading, which is we have like books in hand at their levels, but they also can get online and listen to it online, or they could do short stories, and they get to choose their books that are at their level. And the books, there's so many different varieties of books that they can choose that they're really excited about. They chose that today. They got to go to their bookshelves today and like choose different books that they were really excited about. And they were really excited. And they set goals. And then they also work on a student application. So it gives them like skills to work on and videos to watch, and they take quizzes, they do reading logs, and so it's a rotation. And we're really excited to get it implemented. Like our teachers are ready to go, our students are ready to go, so we're really excited to see how our students grow with this program. And then we did a lot of professional development on all three of, well, not writable yet, that's coming up, but we have coaches. They have a Coachly button on their platform, teachers do, so they have it for Read 180, writable, and into literature. So if they ever have a question or need help with something, they could click on that Coachly button, and a live person from HMH like pops up and like will work with them to answer their questions. So that's really cool. That's a really cool feature for our teachers. And then we also have coaches that come for Read 180, writable, and into literature that work directly with our teachers. So like our Read 180 coach is here, Miss Roundtree is here today at Urbana Middle School and tomorrow at Urbana Middle School. And it's just been really awesome to provide that for our teachers to work one-on-one and to answer questions and give feedback. So, and to debrief with our coaches. And then summer professional development. We provided like a couple sessions on into literature and Read 180, and then continuing to provide that PD throughout the school year. And the middle school also has curriculum implementation teachers for one for reading, so that's exciting too. So it's Miss Fry, so she's always available to support our teachers too. So, and she co-teaches as well, so that's exciting. They're really liking the curriculum, and so that's excited when the students are excited about it. So, yeah, that's it.
Any questions?
And I can say I really enjoyed the presentation. I was very concerned about it being too computer-based. It really sounds like it would be actually much more differentiated for students than I had pictured.
Yeah, what's great about this new curriculum is it is.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Explanation.
Yeah, no problem. But that's one of the great things about this new curriculum is it tells teachers how to support, our multilingual learners, how we can support students that aren't reading at grade level, who will need that extra like scaffolding and support, and then how to enrich our students who are a little bit more advanced. So it gives them lots of like opportunities to do that throughout the lesson. So like into literature is really good at that. Yeah, and it's a great resource for our teachers.
Anyone else? Go ahead, go Sherry.
Yeah, I know it's a lot to ask for the teachers to stop what they've been doing, what they felt was the best way that they delivered instruction, and ask them to do this. So I just hope that with all the effort that you put in, and that having the support from the companies as well, that it's going to be worthwhile for the students, but also for the teachers. And we certainly appreciate their going 110% with this. There was one thing I did see also from a teacher saying, it was like a teacher's choice or whatever, asking for donations of different books. Do you have all the books that you need in order to follow along this curriculum? Because there were specific titles that they were looking for.
Secondary?
I don't know the teacher, I'm sorry, but specific, they were actual books that you could purchase.
Well, all the books are available to students online, but an actual book in hand. So Into Literature has like the extra reading recommendations. Teachers could do units, but we were told for the first year not to do the unit novels because those were the extra, and to really get to know the curriculum for the first year. So we do have them online, but we haven't purchased the actual novels this year because it was recommended not to in the first year of implementation.
Could they eventually be placed in the libraries? And
Oh yeah. Now for Read 180, all teachers have the independent libraries, so students have access to those books in hand, which is really important to have books in hands for our students. Yeah.
Are there like too many resources? Because it
Yes.
sounds like there's like over. So is it just like, I know that the students, like you're saying that they're excited, but are the teachers, like how do they
Yes.
feel? Because I feel like to have that many resources and to know exactly what to do, it almost be overwhelming because it's
Yeah.
so strict. So how do the teachers feel about it?
So it is overwhelming at first because there is a lot, and it's different from what they've been doing. But we've chunked it, like, and kind of scaffolded it, like we do with when we teach our students. So we've just introduced like certain pieces to it, and as teachers get more comfortable with it, then we'll add on another resource, like the writable. And we'll, because there's so much to this curriculum. So that is a great question. But our teachers are becoming more comfortable and more confident, and as that grows, we'll continue to add like little pieces. Yeah, great
Thank
question.
you.
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome. Anybody else?
Yeah, that is a really good comment, Lala. So we just finished curriculum nights. I know I saw
Yeah.
Ben at one of our curriculum nights. And one of the purposes of our curriculum nights was to also bring this information to parents because it is new, and we wanted parents to also see the new curriculum and know that this is new information. We've been spending time in classrooms, and it is really new, and it is a lot of information. It was a lot for them to learn, but as we've been looking at our student data, we've been digging into our M-Class data, and it is glaring at us that we needed to do something very different as we look at the data that is showing us that our students needed some really, really intensive intervention in terms of their literacy needs. And so I'm really glad we did this. I know it is a lot for our staff, but our students deserve the right to read. And as we've been looking at how intense the needs are at K-5, this is going to be something that in years to come, we're going to be looking back at this and saying, wow, this was huge. But it is definitely what our students need at this time. So I know our teachers are pushing through it. And every time I'm in a classroom, I see some growth. And they, our subs, we have a lot of supports right now. Our teacher vacancy grant, Jesse mentioned the substitute person. We have a veteran teacher. You guys know Tracy Welch? Who remembers Tracy? Yeah, so Tracy Welch is our substitute teacher mentor. So she's been hired through the teacher vacancy grant, and she goes around and she supports our long-term subs. So she's at the middle school, and she's pushing into rooms and helping support them, not just with behavior and cultural climate, but also she's getting to the point where hopefully she'll be supporting them more with curriculum. Because we do have a lot of long-term subs who also need help with not just, behavior and routines and procedures, but also being good teachers who know how to deliver curriculum. So it is a lot. Jessie has been amazing. I just have to give her a shout out. Not only has she taken on a new job, learning a new district, she has jumped right in with not just Amplify, CKLA, Caminos, but also math. Like, we're just in year 2 of illustrative. So we can't forget that our teachers are also still kind of learning a new math curriculum at the same time. So we're doing a lot. And Jessie said that she really wants to come and share information. She wanted to do this presentation. She wants to come and give you guys updates a little more frequently. I know we haven't really shared a lot of curriculum and instruction info in the past few years, so we want to make sure you guys are more up to date on what we're doing with teaching and learning and more curriculum and instruction. And so Jessie has way more knowledge about CKLA. She's been doing it as a principal, so she knows it backwards and forward, as you can tell, as she talks about it. And so she's the perfect person to kind of come and kind of keep you guys up to date on what we're doing. So thank you, Jessie.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
We do have a trio of individual action items on our agenda in front of us. First up, 11.1 is our ISB PE waiver. It was presented last week. We've had discussion on last week, and we had a hearing for tonight. Is there a motion for the floor? If there is, then we can have a discussion. Is there a motion for the floor to approve the ISB PE waiver?
I move for approval of the waiver.
Is there a
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Further comments and discussion on the waiver? Go ahead.
Number one, I'm gonna vote in favor of the waiver, but I wanna get, some points out. I know that we met the, requirements for having a public hearing. But I would have liked to have seen, because we kind of goofed, and last time people came for the public hearing and it wasn't a public hearing, I would have liked to seen a notice in maybe, if central office could have written up a little blurb to put into the school newsletters that went out Friday, or if it had gone into the superintendent's report, because those things are going into parents' homes rather than having it be on the website or in the newspaper where parents have to go and look for it. So that was one thing. And then, I would like to say that, we checked number 4 in the boxes, that this is this is why we're asking for the waiver. And number 4, the first bullet point was set forth the intent of the rule or mandate to be achieved. We didn't do that in our waiver request. And it appears to me that we're not understanding that the importance of the state's intent if we don't acknowledge that. In the second bullet point, it said, set forth the manner in which the applicant will meet that intent. And we didn't do that, at all. It's like we're saying we have no intention of trying to meet it. And then, the bullet point number 3 was set forth how the manner proposed by the applicant will be more effective, efficient, or economical. But again, I don't think we have a lot of intention trying to meet the intent. We're asking for a PE waiver for 5 years. And I think that we as a board have seen that the community favors more opportunities for children to be active during the school day rather than fewer opportunities. The reasons for asking for the waiver are because of structural time, space, and money issues. I mean, they're there. As was presented at the last board meeting and delineated in the waiver request, we don't have the time because of the requirements, the new math and English language arts curriculum. In order to meet the requirements, we would have to lengthen the school day. We don't have the space because we've built more classrooms in 5 of our previously 6 elementary buildings and closed the 6th building because, as stated in previous meetings, we can't afford to run a 6th elementary building. This has put greater pressure on the multipurpose and gym space at the remaining 5 elementary buildings. Paul, at the last meeting, said we would need to hire 3.5 more PE teachers to fill the extra slots, and we can't afford to hire the necessary PE teachers, even if we could find them and find the space for them to teach. So what are we doing, starting now, to position ourselves to begin following the state regs and honor parents' wishes to provide increased physical activity during the school day during these next 5 years? If we aren't doing anything to change the parameters, are we just planning to ask for another waiver? All these structural issues seem to come back to money. Lengthening the school day will cost more, having 6 elementary buildings will cost more, hiring more PE teachers will cost more. So how do we think about this when we think about opening a 6th grade center? Can we to open that. How much rent do we pay to MTD for central office? Could having an alternative school of 100 or fewer UMS students at the Wiley building, along with offices for administration, allow us to solve some of our problems at UMS and save money on central office? Champaign has begun using Columbia as an alternative school setting for students K through 12 in 3 separate programs, so not all together, but all in the same building. And I put something on the back table there that tells you what Champaign is doing off their website and off WCIA. So, having an alternative school setting will help UMS in ways that a 6th grade center won't. It will remove students who are causing most of the disruptions, the ones for whom the larger atmosphere of UMS is unsettling or scary, or is in some way not meeting their academic and emotional needs. It will provide those students with a setting that will better meet their needs, much as Tiger Academy does already. It will provide an alternate setting for students when the court orders that students not be in the same space. Now, administrators must figure out complicated class and movement between class schedules to keep students apart within the one building. This requires extra staff and extra administrative time, and it's not always successful. Having these kids in the new Wiley building will give them a sense of worth. They will be in the newest building with all the bells and whistles that may be an ego boost that will help students. Having the extra adults from central office in the building will provide students with more adult role models to interact with. Removing these students from UMS will allow the students who can do well in the regular middle school environment a chance to settle down and learn without worrying about the teasing and fights that regularly happen now. Removing these students will allow the teachers to more adequately address the academic, emotional, and social needs of the students in both buildings. We have to remember, all of our decisions are connected. We can't do it all. We need to decide what will help the most students most of the time and spend our limited resources of time, talent, space, and money in those areas. Parents are telling us, and research has told us, that having breaks in the school day when students can be really active are very important for student well-being and their academic success. Parents are now discovering that we have not been providing the minimum that the state requires for PE, and that now we want to get permission to continue providing less than the state requires for the foreseeable future. From what parents are telling us, we are also being more restrictive with recess time than we were previously, because it is difficult to get in the 30 minutes that the state requires, and our students are not academically successful. How can we begin to meet all of our state requirements, bring up our student achievement scores, and meet the needs of our middle school students?
Let's go first. I'm sympathetic to a lot of the arguments you put here, frankly. I mean, I did vote against the 6th grade center for cost concerns. But the motion on the floor here is this PE waiver, not whether or not we're going to go back on the decision this board has invested $25 million in, essentially. That ship has sailed. I don't want this 5-year waiver to be a recurring thing. This is what we have been doing for a very, very long time, and we've realized that we just need to actually, follow school code and apply for the waiver. If we're going to find a solution on how to meet the state requirement along with keeping our arts program at the most, that's probably what would have to happen if we were going to have the PE requirement met, is we would have to do the thing that we don't have to do, which is the arts program. And no one in Urbana wants to give that up. Yep. A solution for this is going to have to come out in partnership with the UEA, because we can't lengthen the school day without partnering with them and agreeing to that. and it's gonna have to come out of a strategic planning process. I mean, I think we're gonna have to, it's gonna take us, it's gonna,
Negotiation process.
it's gonna take at least 3 or 4 years for us to find a path where we can meet the state requirements, along with the other things we wanna do. And as, you know, because it's gonna take that long, we have to file for this waiver today.
I do have something to add regarding that, too. Troy and I were on a meeting, a virtual meeting with other school districts in our division. And one of the, with this guest of Senator Tom Bennett. And one of the things that was brought out, and they didn't have the exact numbers, but those legislative mandates that we're required to have take up over 12,000 hours of school time. And we only have like 9,000, is that correct? 9,000 hours during the school year. So, I mean, if we're going to follow the legislative mandate, we have to do it within the hours that we have. So something has to give. And I think that's what we need to focus on. We can't do everything. We have to make our priorities. And yes, I was even in some of the classrooms recently, and they were doing some of the reading activities, and they were forming letters with their bodies. You know, so yeah, they're not sitting at their desks the whole time. Yes, we want them to be innovative. They want to be, you know, have times for interactions with peers. That's important as well, negotiating that. But we have to have a balance, and I hope that the teachers are finding that balance within their classroom as well.
All right, any other comments or questions? Any more discussion? If not, a roll call vote is in order.
Member Hickson? Yes. Member Baxley?
Yes.
Member Langendorf, yes. Vice President Exum?
Yes.
President Pulowski?
Yes.
Member Staton?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next up is 11.2, approval of a bid for the Tiger Academy rooftop unit replacements. That's right above us. Randy, do you have any details on the bid you'd like to share with us at this point?
Yeah, so when you get to discussion, he wants to share some things.
Okay, well, I guess before we get to that point, is there a motion on the floor to accept the bid?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by second. Now is the time for discussion. Go ahead, Randy.
Jennifer, were we gonna?
Yeah, so I think Randy has done some investigative work since we posted the agenda, and I think he maybe wants to pause and do some more work on.
Yeah, I'd like to just push pause on this for 2 weeks and see if I can come up with a better solution and save the district some money.
Okay, wow.
And if it comes back around, we can still go ahead and approve this for the same price.
Okay, so then the chair would request a motion to definitely postpone this motion until the October 29th meeting.
Don't we just vote no on this and re-bring it?
We could do that as
I
well.
guess we could do that too.
But
We could pause or vote no, either one.
Let's just
Are
pause.
you
Let's just
anticipating
pause.
that?
Let's pause.
You're
Pause
sounds
anticipating
better.
a
I mean,
change,
if we-
right? So if we're,
Ben can amend his motion to saying postponing. and
Well,
then to the
I
next-
mean, we're allowed to pause the motion on the floor, definitely. So all I would need is for someone to make that motion and someone to second it.
I make a motion to pause until the next meeting.
So
second.
it's been moved and seconded. Any comments on this motion, on the pause? All in favor of definitely postponing action item 11.2 until the October 29th meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We will revisit this on October 29th. 11.3 is advanced approval of September bills and checks. Because of our meeting calendar, we are not going to be able to approve the September bills and checks in time for them to be timely paid. So we're requesting advance approval of the bills, and then we will have a motion at a future meeting with the actual numbers defined. Is there a motion to advancedly approve the September bills and checks?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further comment? All right. A roll call, please.
Member Baxley?
Yes.
Member Langendorf, yes. Vice President Exum?
Yes.
President Pulowski?
Yes.
Member Staton?
Yes.
Member Hickson?
We have 2 policy reviews tonight, which is kind of unusual for us, but it's really board work. First up is policy 5:125, the one I requested being discussed, which is personal technology and social media use. So included in our packets tonight is the current social media policy, which comes from the press organization and is used by several districts in the state. It basically provides the district some guidance to employees who are using social media to promote the district and promote student groups within the district.
Inviting Catherine up.
Oh, yeah. So there are a couple of concerns I've had that aren't explicitly expressed in or defined in this policy. Just from a practical matter, if one of our employees is operating a social media account that's officially promoting, a building or an organization, it really should be owned by the district. The passwords, the control of it really should be owned by the communications director or the superintendent, and then maybe hand it out to the employee to operate it while they're in that role, because roles change, people come and go. So that I would want that kind of codified in policy, and it's not codified currently right now.
Say that again. So you're talking about if the
So say, for example, we had a Facebook account for the chess club, right? And there's a sponsor for the chess club at the high school, but they're using like their personal Facebook account, or they have like, so there's no like guardrails for the district to be able to, if that person left the district, there's no way for them to actually retain ownership of the history of that, because we don't own it. The staff member who was doing that at that point in time did.
And Catherine's got a couple of current examples, like some athletic examples that exist right now.
So the way it should work, kind of what you were saying, is in Meta, which is how Facebook and Instagram are connected, and those are 2 of the main social media platforms that the district or the clubs and athletic organizations use. Since I've started, the district has a Facebook and Instagram, the Urbana School District page, and every account that I create lives under its umbrella. So they don't get passwords. I create the account, and then I manage the sharing. So I can give it to John, and I say, John, you have access to the UMS page, but nothing else. And I can go in and revoke that access, or I can go in and edit or modify any of the posts or content that he creates if there's an issue. There were several accounts made before I started, and I'm not sure if that's just because there was no policy that I don't have access to, and they don't live under the district umbrella. For example, the high school has a cross-country Instagram, and I am not sure if it's a coach running it or if it's a student running it, but it is very clearly branded with district branding. So it looks like we are running the account, and there has been an issue where on a Saturday I noticed, I try to monitor it all the time. I'm really the only person that is monitoring the district accounts all the time, and so I have them on my phone, and so on a Saturday I saw that there was some explicit music linked to a photo, and so I had to track down the coach, who had to track down the person who posted it so it could be deleted, which wouldn't happen if they were under the district umbrella, like several of them are. I would just go in and delete it.
So, I mean, that's kind of, seems like a hole in our current policy I'd like to have addressed. I just wanting to have, a discussion about that tonight. The other thing is, with regards to like, live broadcasts. When a student registers with our district, one of the things that a parent has to sign off on is whether or not they want their students to have their image and likeness appear in district media. And if somebody does a Facebook Live or a broadcast, at a sporting event or anything, there's no way of knowing necessarily whose kid is there. Have they signed the waiver? Right. So I think we should have some sort of a clause in this policy that basically says if anybody is doing some sort of a live performance through a district media account, they would need to get advance approval from the communications director or the superintendent. I mean, I think there's probably occasions where it's appropriate to do such things. Maybe it's a music concert or something, but so we shouldn't just ban it but I think getting advance approval for such a thing would make a lot of sense.
Right, like, so the CU marching showcase on Monday night, right? Like something like that, when you're at a event like that, you expect, if you're in the band, everyone's got their phones out, you're recording, somebody's gonna be recording that, there's an expectation that it's gonna get posted, and that's okay. But if you're walking down the hallways and you're just doing something and you don't expect that your kid might show up on somebody's post, and you didn't give permission for them to be on a post in the middle of the school day on someone's Instagram or Facebook or something like that, so it's a little different. I know one of the things that Catherine has also looked into is there are districts that have like a guideline book, or that have come up with like social media, like a little guideline book too, so that's something else, other than just a policy with a little more detail.
Yeah, several districts have basically a do's and don'ts guideline for how you can request to have an account, who can run the account, who has to have access to the account, what you can do, what you can't do, because our accounts are considered government accounts, so we're subject to the First Amendment protection. So like we can't block and ban users, we can't delete comments unless they fall under certain categories. And so having all of that written in a like procedure guidebook would, in my opinion, be helpful as well.
So a recommendation I have is that, a board member would work with Catherine to come up with the proposed modification to our policy here to kind of satisfy some of the holes that we have. Is that acceptable to the board in general?
We have UEA roundtable next week. I also sent something to the UEA to ask if we could add this to the agenda to just run the idea by them, since it is
Sure.
very personnel related.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. We should
conversation with
partner.
them as well.
We should partner with them on this.
So maybe somebody from like UEA leadership might join us, or
Yeah,
or we could just talk about it next week.
Yeah. We'll talk about it at UEA roundtable.
Yep.
And then we'll bring something back at a later date.
Yep. Yeah.
About the policy, maybe I was too sensitive about it, but because I was a teacher before, I felt like, this was aimed at teachers more than it was at all employees. And I was surprised that number 2 said, whenever possible, to communicate with students and their parents, guardians. And I would like it to say, number 2 could use a district-provided or supported method to communicate with vendors, contractors in the community about all district-related activities, contractual agreements, discussion of district policy, committee work. I mean, I think this should be for all employees. Everybody should be using a district-supported platform. And then again, number 3, instead of, I thought it could read, not interfere with, disrupt the educational working environment or the delivery of education or educational support services, including all support services provided in the schools or at central office. I mean, I just think we should be talking about all of our, and I don't even mean just central office, it would be the bus where the buses are, and number 4, inform immediate supervisor if anyone associated with the district initiates inappropriate contact with them via personal technology or social media. You just broaden what it's saying. Number 8, use personal, technical, and social media for personal purposes only during non-work times or hours. Any duty-free use must occur during times and places that the use will not interfere with job duties or otherwise be disruptive to the school environment, the central office environment, or the operation of any of the places where district business is being conducted. And then the last part, administrative staff will annually provide all staff a copy of the policy, inform all staff about the importance of maintaining high standards, and then, just say, remind all staff. This is supposed to be a whole staff policy, right?
Yes, all staff.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, and I
Administrators,
just think it
teachers,
would-
aides, everybody.
Like I said, maybe I was just being too, but I think all district business, and actually most of our FOIA requests are about business-related issues, not what did Mrs. Hickson say to Johnny's mom at 3 o'clock. And so our FOIA costs have skyrocketed, and this is one thing we could do to minimize maybe those costs. And it's way more difficult to disentangle if somebody asks for information. You shouldn't really commingle your personal and your district-related business.
Agreed.
And I was thinking about, okay, what would be the barrier to this? And I thought it would be, what if you wanted to reach a contractor by text because of where that contractor is not sitting at a computer? And, or if, you needed to call somebody because of where that, and just coincidentally, we're looking into new cell phones, and nowadays you can put a second SIM into, and I wondered if we could do this for administrator phones and make it easier for our administrators to have 2 lines, a district line and a personal line on the phones that they're carrying around, because generally email is easier to, it's easier to always use your district.
Yeah, that's kind of beyond
The dual SIM phones are a little bit more rare. They're not most of the ones that I think most of us have.
And
They're
frankly,
kind of a niche.
that's beyond the scope of this policy. Let's stay germane to the policy, please.
Right, that was just a solution, but I do think I would like to see that all district business be put on, and I was just, like I said, I was trying to think, what's the barrier to this?
Yeah. Well, I think we're in violent agreement here. We will go ahead and work on a proposal with administration and partnering with the UEA, and we'll bring it forward in a future date. All right, I think we're ready for our next policy review, which is public participation. So this is Sherry and Sitlali, kind of.
Come on, Sitlali, come on. Well, okay, Sitlali and I did meet, and we exchanged some ideas regarding the conversation that we had here at the meeting regarding public input and other ways in which we can engage with families, with parents, in as much as we are quite limited during our board meetings as far as responding to questions and concerns. So we came through this particular list, and we hope that we get your input and additions with it as well. Regarding the board meeting changes, we would like to change the amount of time from 5 minutes to 3 minutes that people can address the board with some of the information that we got before. We know that this is done in other school districts as well as city councils as well. And then have a 1-hour limit on public comments so that it doesn't take up too much time, so that we can do some of our work that we need to do during that evening. We can also extend that if there's a situation where we would want to hear from more people. But that would allow us to at least hear from 20 different parents during 1 hour. One thing that we can do is when we have board reports, we usually have them at the end of the meeting. And we thought that if we had them right following the public public comments, that we would have the opportunity to maybe give more information, and that they could be still sitting here in this room, so that they could hear maybe if we have more information that they don't know about, because we're learning every week as well as we sit here at the table. So what we've learned, what we've looked into before the meeting, we can share that with the public. And that we would only have 3 minutes as well, just like the public has. We would like to have a goal of having 3.5 hours for board meetings, and if time is needed, more time is needed, then we could vote for extending that time as well. Okay, so we go on to the next one, or do you want to make some statements before we go on?
I like the idea of having the public, board report after the public comments.
Okay.
That gets closer to a dialogue.
Right, right.
And I also agree with having a time limit on that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I like all three ideas.
Okay. Did you want to say anything more?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Did you want to say anything more about it?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was just like,
Sorry.
I'm sorry today. I'm not
Okay.
in my hundreds.
Okay. Anyway, Paul had mentioned that he would, we would decrease this amount of time, that we wanted to think of other ways in which we would have additional time, maybe outside of the board meeting, that we can engage with the public, and we can at least listen to what they have to say in other ways and in other settings. So we thought that if we would have 7 months in which we could meet with the public at a different place, like the library, that members of the community could come and speak with us. We thought of 7 different months where we don't have meetings during vacation months, so that we don't have to jam so much into 1 month when we have less attendance days. So that would require 7 board members to attend 2 a year. So we would have, everybody would have a chance to have 2 during the whole school year, and we would have an opportunity to meet with the public in that way as well. Another way we could meet is to make an effort that there would be 2 board members at least at 1 PTA or parent meeting at each school. Again, that would only include that we have 2 additional meetings for each board member during the whole school year. So you would sign up for what schools you wanted, and you would select 2 if you wanted to do 2. I mean, you have to do 2. Okay. Anything about that?
Not every building has always had a PTA during its lifetime.
Was there a parent meeting, like a curriculum meeting, just so we show that we are present and available if there was something else that another opportunity besides the PTA meeting, the PTSA meeting?
Yeah.
And the intention to pair out is like we cannot be 3 in the same time. So if I'm gonna be in Yankee Ridge, maybe somebody, because I'm a mother already, I'm already part of the program. So if somebody can go extra, or I can go, like one of us have a little kid, so and get just more involved and more present in the community. I think it's going to open opportunity to engage more the parents and just to listen to the concerns and express it in the meeting.
Plus, you might see more families, more parents at Yankee Ridge. This would give you another opportunity to go to another school, whatever school that you are able to go to based on the schedule or the time, whatever. So, so you could get to 2 different schools. Okay, also we thought about, like, basically what we saw last time we thought was a change in the school policy. We really didn't change the school policy because we didn't have a policy where we had 3 PE sessions in one. So, but if there was a change or an explanation about a policy, we would want some way in order to inform the public, because there's so many times that we've heard, I didn't know about this, I didn't, you know, we need more ways of communicating with parents. And we hear that they don't always check their email, they don't go to the website to read notices from the schools. And Jennifer, you mentioned something about newsletters. Does every school send home newsletters home to the parents? I mean, physically, a newspaper? that they
Yeah,
print
they
off?
do.
They do.
Some do electronic, some do paper, some
Electronics.
do.
We get an
Yeah, so
electronic
you said that it goes
Some do
home, but that doesn't mean that they're going to read it. If they're not checking their email, they're not gonna read the newsletter either. So somehow we wanna find out as many ways as we can, besides using social media and email, how to connect, whether or not they'd be, and I don't even know if the parents are all going to the schools. We can't even have signs up in the schools if the, you know, but somehow we have to increase as many different ways as we can so that we can give information before there is a change, so that they understand the whys of the changes. So
think there's a
that would
lot-
be something that we'd have to explore.
I think there was a lot of confusion with the PE days.
Yeah.
Parents
no.
thought we were taking something away.
Yeah,
when
yeah,
we
that was
still
happening
do.
already,
They
and
still
it's not
do.
happening.
So,
Yeah. Okay, okay, that was the second one that I included both of those last two things, so. Those were the items that Lally and I came up with, to try, so that we can continue to have more interactions with the public and parents.
Well, this seems like great. I think what we're doing is we're kind of exchanging one kind of public contact with limited value for another kind of public contact with, I think, greater value. You know, I think this is great work, and I'd be supportive of it.
Sherry, what is the 1, 2, 3, the one Yankee Ridge 2?
There are 7
Oh.
schools, so.
Oh, okay.
So that means 14 opportunities, so.
Sorry,
Okay.
sorry. I don't know what Siri was talking.
had to count how many schools.
Oh, okay.
We had 14.
Right. So
Okay.
is it 7 board members, 7 schools?
7 schools.
Oh, yeah, you forgot.
We rotate.
Well, and Gerber.
Oh, yeah, that girl wouldn't you?
So Gerber always gets forgotten.
this is good. This is certainly a step in the right direction to getting more, at least the feeling that we're having a dialogue. That's good.
Yeah, and I think also it's going to enrich the communication by limiting the time and the number of people. I think is going to be more consistent if we can, in the same time, have dialogue with, and kind of clean up a little bit of the language that sometimes we hear a lot, like some conclusions that they are not real.
Right.
And we, in the end of the night, almost 11 p.m., we talk about it, and we are all tired already. So I think in that moment, early in the meeting, is going to provide more information.
We can fact check.
Yeah, right. And also by limiting us to talk the same like the public, just have the same fairness.
Right.
Yeah, what had happened too is when parents have the ability to come here at that particular time at 6 o'clock when our meetings are, we're assuming that those are the parents, and the parents all feel that way, even though we only have maybe 10 or 12 parents. We're making the assumption that every parent in the district feels this way. And I think that if we get out into the schools and have an opportunity to meet with parents, we might get a different information, additional information than we get just here in this room.
Yeah. Anything that facilitates actual conversations is going to be supported by me. So the next steps on this is actual written policy changes. Someone's got to actually come up with an amendment to our current public meeting policy, which was also stapled on here. It's 2:230. So someone's going to need to rewrite that to include the changes that are requested here as a proposed change at a future meeting, and then we're going to have to write a whole new policy. I'm not sure where it would live in the document.
So we can I can work with Susan to do that. I just wanted to make sure So do you guys need to vote on 1, 2, 3, and 4 in order to be able to do that, or how?
I think you just write a new
Just
doc.
write it up?
Just
Okay.
write it up
Okay.
with all 4 of those
And
things
then bring
in
it back, and
bring
then
it
you guys
back,
vote on
and then,
it?
and if someone wants to, amend the proposed,
Changes.
policy, we can vote on that individually at that point in time.
And I'll have Susan do it, kind of like Press does it, right? Like they kind of cross it out and, like when you see the changes in Press, is they kind of line out something and put in the new language,
Yeah.
like when we have new language in negotiations and things like that. Okay, so we're gonna go with 1, 2, 3, and 4?
I'm less supportive of 4, because there are times when we
But if
just,
more is needed, it's in there.
but, we could vote to extend if we have to.
Yeah, I
But
was
there-
gonna say, that's what city council does, right? They have their little they have their stopping time, and then they maybe discuss if they wanna
just-
keep going, maybe?
Some of those April meetings, we just have a lot we have to do because of how the calendar falls.
But also that is going to, I remember in the beginning that we kind of went through all the topics we want to discuss during the year. I think by limiting ourselves in time, we're going to be smarter and select the topics we want to do. And yes, like, I'm pretty sure it's going to be some days that we're going to need to extend it, but in
Sure.
that way, it's going to be clarity
I mean,
to
if we have
start and
a-
end.
If we have a semi-hard stop at 9:30, maybe each one of us will be a little less loquacious.
Well, and Paul's right, like in April and May, when we have all we have
The
the
end of the
school
years
improvement
and just-
plans, and we have to
They're
do
just-
the ISB reports.
There's stuff we have to do in those meetings, because that's the only time we can do them. That can lengthen those meetings a lot.
But we could have a check-in at 9:30 and say, do we wanna keep going, or?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
A la carte.
so, all right.
And then,
Yeah, I guess for the, sorry,
oh,
it's
for
all
the,
right.
for the, for the second part, that seems something we should discuss. Or not require, it doesn't sound like we should require ourselves to do these, but certainly.
No, there's an opportunities for us to like compensate. I mean, we are doing these changes and we are compromising ourselves to like, okay, although it seems like we are limiting, we also are expanding our ways of communication with
Mhm.
our
Then maybe
in the
we should do that.
community.
Those are requirement, we do.
I don't know if legally we can require board members to do it.
Suggest.
I mean, we'll talk to Susan. I mean,
Well, we wouldn't put those in the we're not
No,
adding
no,
those
no,
to the
no.
policy.
oh, there's no.
Oh, you were wanting to
want
put
it-
the
I wa-
public engagement things in the policy? Oh,
Absolutely.
okay,
Oh,
okay.
I want this to live on past, I want to be as part of our board policy. But I don't think we can like legally require in our board policy,
Maybe we could add them to like administrative procedures or something?
something to that effect.
Okay.
I want this to be codified, just so I think that it'll live on past us.
Okay.
fair. I agree.
I agree. I think if we're gonna diminish the time.
Mm-hmm.
Then we could replace it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm wondering, was this in the packet? Was this in the packet? 'Cause I
The-
must have
Oh,
Was-
First page
this
was.
document.
Yeah, not Sherry's document
Yeah.
wasn't in the
Oh, okay.
packet.
I
Yeah,
just
since
didn't
it was a
see it.
board
So I'm
document.
wondering Then, do we have to put it where the community, since we're talking about community input,
Sure.
we should put it up where the community can see it?
Yeah, Lori will put it in the,
Well, I mean, if we amend our policy
Then-
manual to include this second part, we can only do so if we publish it and put it on a future agenda and vote on it. So before we actually codify it and
Right.
accept it as board policy, it will be delivered to the public.
once we mark it up and make all the changes.
Oh, good. So then the public would see it
Right.
before we vote on it.
So when
Yes.
we mark it up and make all the changes and strikeouts and strike-throughs, it'll get put into the packet.
Okay. Great. This is
And
good.
then, do you need us to keep collaborating, or you just take it there?
So I'll work
Okay.
with Susan on it.
All right. Good.
Yep.
I'm just
You
checking.
lofted it to me now.
I'm just checking it. Thank
All
you.
right.
Yes, great work, you guys. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
That finishes our policy review for the evening. There is no call for future special or executive meetings. Oh, you're right, I forgot, it wasn't on here, it's here. In a note, a week from tonight at 6 PM at UMS is our UEA quarterly roundtable. So please attend. 6 p.m.
Yep.
at UMS. I think it's 1520.
15:20.
The room 1520. Our superintendent's report.
Ready, John? Before we start, I want to welcome Mary Ann. We were going to do that at the beginning. And you want to thank Anna? We want to thank Anna Seaman.
Again, Anna Seaman for running our cameras.
She's back.
Thank you so much.
And Mary Ann is here for her first meeting, our new CFO. So yay, Mary Ann. So 40 Under 40 is coming up October 24th. If you want to attend, we have 3 Urbana staff members who are being recognized. Tiara Brown from UHS, Christy Kaplan. She is one of our Tier 3 interventionist at Yankee Ridge Multilingual School, and Domisha Perkins Nunn, who works right here at Tiger Academy. She's one of our restorative facilitators. Have been named 40 Under 40. So congratulations to them. Buddy benches. Randy, you want to say anything about the buddy benches? Thanking Champaign Rotary West. They reached out to us and just said, hey, we want to give you guys some buddy benches. Do you want to say anything about it? Here's a couple of the pictures. Catherine, you took these, right? Catherine, did they send these to us? Yeah, Tyler sent them. Do you want to say anything?
There's one at every playground, or every building, and they're pretty nice. They're made with the plastic caps that they recycled, and then
Our
I
team.
don't know what else to say, but there's a little sign on there too, a little plaque for each one.
Yeah.
I think it's like 275 pounds of plastic caps per bench,
Wow.
something like that. It's
So
great. It's a big number.
Yeah, our team installed them near every playground, and so the idea of a buddy bench is to promote friendship, inclusiveness, and kindness. So the idea is if a student is sad or they're just feeling like they don't have a friend, they can go sit on the buddy bench, and a buddy or a friend will come and sit next to them and make them feel better. So that's the idea of a buddy bench. So we're really thankful to Champaign Rotary West for thinking of Urbana schools and to bringing those to our playground. So thank you very much.
And which playground is?
All of our playgrounds got one. So that particular playground, if you want to go back, which playground is that? Thomas Paine.
And Yankee Ridge.
Yankee Ridge.
So two pictures that you have up there, but yeah,
Yep. Yeah. All right. These are some more pictures from homecomings that Lolly showed us a couple of those earlier. So there is, if you look at the top right, there is the Rihanna. She talked about Rihanna, the kind of choir musical mix that they did of a few Rihanna songs. It was super cute. So it was a great pep rally. They had a lot of fun. So it was a great night. The football game. It was a lot of fun being out there. Our team we're really there motivating them. We're still growing, and it's a rebuilding year. We just keep saying that.
I noticed that they scored last week. So.
Oh yes, they did. They did score last week. So really, we just keep motivating them and kind of building them up. So they're coming out every week. We're still proud of them. Panorama Family Survey. So I think this survey, has it closed? No, not yet. Okay, take a few more minutes if you haven't yet to fill out your family survey. The links are live still. So there's still an opportunity for you to share your thoughts or your students' thoughts about what you feel about your whole school experience. So this is another way, Sherry, that we're trying to engage with our families. So hopefully families are doing that. Lots of events coming up go ahead, Sid Lally. They should be in Spanish, yes, Spanish and French. Go ahead. Yep. There are a lot of events going on in October. I'm not going to read all of these to you. So some highlights, Bring Your Family to School Day, October 7th. October 9th is Academic Monogram Night at 6 o'clock. If you are planning to attend, please let Lori know so we can make sure that the UHS admin have a spot for you in the front row. October 9th. What'd you say? Oh, okay. Yay. Walk and roll to school day. If you're planning on walking to one of the schools, also let us know so we can make sure the principals know that you're going to be there that morning to walk. And fall break, so no one's going to be at any of the buildings, October 14th through the 18th, and then conferences the 24th and 25th. I think that's the last one. Thank you. And then we have some FOIAs.
I'll try to speed through these. First up is from Tom Schroeder, requesting a narrowing of my request as advised, and would like to further limit the records to 1 year prior to GESC approval, unless district has specific knowledge of relevant records from earlier dates. Subject, solar contractor. And Tom Schroeder, I am again requesting any records related to Section 5 of FOIA. Pam Schilling, all records described below that existed 6/1/2024 to 9/7/2024 that were in the possession of Rachel Spencer and or Board of Education, Urbana School District 116, including any of the following: Nikki Budzinski, Adam Faraci, Ingram Deshawn, Congresswoman, campaign, protester. From Hugh Jask, all emails sent and received by Angie Franklin containing the search term Kleber from 9/12/2023 to 9/11/2024. All emails sent by Angie Franklin to district principals and other admin, including all of the following search terms: before interviewing, and Unit 4, and call me, 8/12/2019 to 9/11/2024. For clarity, I am not asking for every email with any of those search terms, only emails that include all those search terms. From Preston L. Williams, Jr., any and all correspondence between Jennifer Moore and the Urbana Board of Education pertaining to Urbana Middle School softball program, or Dr. Preston L. Williams, Jr., Jacqueline Douglas, and or Paul Douglas. Tom Schroeder requesting copies of the board packets for the 3 public meetings of the Board of Education during the month of June 2024. And from Daniel Tutullo requesting the last 5 religious exemptions submitted at Yankee Ridge Elementary School with any personal information redacted. Now it's time for board reports. Does anybody have board reports they wish to give this evening?
Can I ask something about the FOIAs?
I guess, I mean, I just read them because they were satisfied.
Oh, they were already,
They're all processed.
they are processed? Okay. But why, how do you get all the emails with that? Just for me to learn.
So anybody in the public can request the district to provide them information. Whether or not the district is able to meet that request is, there's legal if you ask for like all emails anybody ever sent, right, that's something that we just can't do because it's too huge. So there's specific things that we have to redact as well. So anytime that somebody makes a FOIA request, we basically have to involve lawyers to make sure that we're meeting the letter of the law with regards to the information we return back to them.
And what is the purpose of them to get that information?
So, we do email searches. If somebody, if they're asking for somebody's text messages, the FOIA officer has to go to that person and say, look through your text messages for these terms, and we have to return those to the FOIA officer, that kind of thing.
Wow.
Yep.
There are systems in place where all of the emails get collected into a central repository to make it easier to search for district records like emails
Yeah.
and
then
files.
this is why you should always do district business on district email and personal business on your personal email. Although, they can request, since you're a public official, they can ask for your emails regarding district matter on your personal devices and personal accounts. Yep. If a constituent sends you email, that's FOIAble. That's, yeah, yep. Personal meetings and phone calls are safer. All right, it's important discussion. Again, board reports, go ahead, Sherry.
Because I found out tonight that I need to work with Catherine because I have a Tiger Market Facebook page. So we are going to be publicizing more information on that page with you, I hope. Okay. We will have a list of items that we need. We delivered items from that we picked up at the food bank at both the high school and here at Tiger Academy and Adult Ed, and here it's empty already. So we're not able to keep the items on the shelf. So there's some things, many of them are purchased at Dollar Tree, so they're all $1.25, but just some very basic items that we'd like to supply, or at Aldi. And the other thing I would like to wish everybody who celebrates the Jewish New Year, the Shana Tova, and wish everybody a happy and healthy New Year.
Thank you. Anyone else? Board reports? Hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Meeting's over. Again, our next meeting is in 4 weeks on October 29th.
Work?